Okay, so this video has taken a lot longer than planned to make, and that's for many reasons. One of them is the fact that I actually had to get the footage from the video game, obviously. Two, I try to put my best foot forward when creating content, and I always want to make something that I'm proud of at any capacity, and I just could not get into the correct headspace to edit, and I took breaks from the video game so I didn't get burnt out and so I could continue making this video. So I'm real sorry that it's been 2 weeks. Now, the reason I decided to play Cyberpunk and make an actual video about Cyberpunk, even if it's not popular right now, blah 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 blah, is because I've watched a lot of Netrunner clips. I watched a lot of people do builds on Cyberpunk 2077, and I got interested in seeing a Netrunner and stuff. But I never did it before because I always want to understand what I'm getting into when it comes to builds and stuff. That's why I look into magic systems personally, or how D&D works, because I'm always super interested. But what I tell you is this: net running is impossible to understand truly for our day and age. And I don't mean knowing what it is and what you're able to do with it. I mean straight up how to do it is impossible, because they tell you nowhere. It's all in the lore, and they tell you nowhere how net running works. I've watched so much Cyberpunk Red videos and I've barely got a grasp on it, and it's ridiculous. Downsides of net running: it's the absolute worst at beginner levels, and only starts to get good at level 20, because that's when you get synapse burnout, and that way you don't get traced immediately from doing this stuff. Otherwise, you literally get detected when you're trying to do stealth, which makes stealth missions impossible. And since you're a squishy netrunner, you will die, especially in very hard mode. Holy shit, I forgot to mention the other downside. Other downside is that it gets very repetitive. Straight up, it gets very repetitive, especially if you play for hours consistently. Because 90% of the time, especially at the very beginning, when you don't have a build idea, you're trying to stay into the shadows, you're not trying to get caught, you will use 3 different quick hacks consistently. And that's just the truth, and playing like that does get repetitive, but so does shooting people with guns. So is that really a downside? Who knows? I also another thing about net running is the multiple different types of playstyles you can get. Originally, there was only 2. You could either play the guy who hacks through cameras, or the guy who hacks in front of you, and those are heightened in the new patches and the updates since Phantom Liberty, with specific cyber decks and stuff. But the fact is, you can play an aggressive netrunner with smart guns and mono wires, and the fact that they've expanded so much on what net running is capable of and making it super cool that way, and able to play whatever you want. You can either play a pure blooded netrunner, or you can play just this badass who shoots people and quakes hacks them at the same time, and nobody's safe. And bit of a god complex, bit of a superiority complex, but who wouldn't, right? In a world of technology, you're playing the puppet master. It's pretty sick. Net running has become my favorite style. I used to be a Sandeviston user, but net running has become my favorite style, and I didn't even have a build centered around it. I had no build. And even as I'm currently speaking, I haven't finished the game and I still have no build idea for it, which should explain how fun it is. Because net running is fun. It's a completely new take. You don't even need weapons. Every time you deposit weapons, it doesn't matter, which is awesome, because your weapon is your mind. Another cool thing of net running is the combos and all the stuff you can potentially do, and the uniqueness of each cyber deck, which you do not get from any other like operating system, because every single one of them is supposed to work the same. But another cool thing about the Netrunner that like I thought about while playing it was the fact that all you need to do to make a super efficient Netrunner is invest heavily into the intelligence skill tree, because you get overclock and all the queuing and stuff, and then all you need is a cyber deck. And while, you know, EX disk for extra RAM would be good, you only need the cyber deck and overclock, and that's like one cyberware item, and you can be one of the most deadly people in Night City. To me, that's very cool. That's about all I want to talk about. Most of the footage here is actually my personal gameplay footage. I am not the best at this. If you watch other videos, they will, like, you know, show you how to set it up and stuff. I still don't know how. The whole purpose of this video was to give a personal experience / take on net running in general. I haven't finished the playthrough, and that's because I've been working on other content and getting other footage, and because, you know, I was in a creative slump. But if you guys would like me to see to fully play through this playthrough as my Netrunner build that I have in my head, you know, mention it, comment, like. I might eventually make a video that's a part 2 that is my full story. It's just not in the works right now. I have other videos. Again, sorry it took so long for this to come out. I just wanted to make it, you know, good. And I'm cutting it really close with January, and it's probably going to be posted tomorrow on February 1st. Next video will definitely not take 2 weeks, as I plan to post 4 videos a month starting tomorrow. This video will not count towards that.